watching Sunday Sound Off with Frank Boal.
And welcome back to Sunday Sound Off. And our first hot topic of the night, mock or lock? Are the Missouri Tigers due for a quarterback change? TJ, you're first up. What do you think?
Well, first and foremost, when it comes to Matty Mock, I thought every day should be Saturday. Had a great line on Saturday when they talked about Matty Mock. He's like a firework. If he doesn't do what he's supposed to do in about 3 seconds, you get really concerned that he's going to blow up in a bad way. And when you have a quarterback like that, it's really hard to trust him, which is why I think Missouri fans are so keen on seeing what Drew Lock can do. Now, when it comes to whether or not Drew Lock can be the starter, to be honest, a true freshman probably doesn't know the playbook, and I think that was confirmed on Saturday, that he doesn't have 100% of the playbook and that the coaches don't trust him 100% yet. He was really good on the short stuff, but once he started to go downfield, he looked very questionable, threw in the coverage, got away with a couple of passes that should have been picked off. I think if you're playing Drew Lock, you're playing for the future. If you're playing Matty Mock, you're playing for now. I think they probably will stick with Matty Mock, and with good reason. He gives them the best chance to win right now. They're still undefeated, and I think that means a lot to coaches and to fans.
Vahe, what do you think?
Test and just watch these guys. Drew Lock would be your quarterback, but that doesn't account for a couple things, and as TJ alluded to, experience being one of them. The other thing is Matty Mock right now does bring a dimension to this offense that really isn't Drew's thing just now, and that's running. And this isn't all Matty Mock's fault right now, the way the offense is going. There's not much support around him. But I would say this, if he's the future, then it's inevitable, and then why not get him started now more? I'd like to see him playing more. I don't think you have to make a change, but I think you can start pushing towards what's going to come, and soon enough, Matty will know whether Matty Mock really should still be the guy if Drew Lock gets to play more. You're already using the red shirt year. There's no there's no turning back. So why not get the most you can out of this?
Yeah, Seren, the other thing is, why isn't Matty Mock playing, or Drew Lock playing a little bit more?
Well, and that's what I don't get. Look, yeah. I wasn't that big a fan when they did this little deal with Chase Daniel back in the day. And by the way, everyone points to that. Well, they did it with Chase Daniel. Yeah, and they went 7-5. I mean, are we about winning football games here? Are you about building something? I mean, it wasn't like that season was a huge success. Maybe back then it was, because it was coming off like a 5-win season. It was a different time in Missouri football. You know, for me, the reaction that Matty Mock's getting has been set up by the coaching staff for putting Drew Lock on the field. If Matty Mock's your guy, play Matty Mock. If Drew Lock is where you're going, get him on the field. And we hear coaches all the time talk about practice. Oh, in practice, it's so important in practice. Well, why can't Drew Lock get his experience in practice? Why do you have to put him out on the field? So I'm not a fan of this. I think it's the wrong way to go. If Lock's your guy and he's better, get him on the field and let him make the mistakes and get to where you're going to go.
All right, here's our second hot topic of the evening. Bama, Auburn, Arkansas lost this weekend. Is there a changing of the guard in the SEC? Vahe?
How it plays out, Frank, to me, there's some shifting sands here. I don't know that you can conclude that this is all going to be different now, but I think every year we get a little fluctuation, and now you kind of see that you don't have to look at Alabama as unbeatable. And I think this is true all through college football. I mean, it's hard to know who you really think would be your college football playoff right now, and I think that's good for the game.
Seren?
You know, since the Boal Coalition came about, Tennessee's won a national championship, LSU, Alabama, Auburn. There have been multiple schools. And look, LSU winning, is that a changing of the guard? I think they've been here for a little while. Alabama coming back to the pack, yeah, I think that's happening. And Ole Miss is a program that's on the rise, so maybe that's, you know, a little bit of a changing of the guard. But the bottom line is the SEC is still strong. Everything you mentioned there, except for Arkansas losing to Texas Tech, which I know brought a big tear to TJ's eyes. Otherwise, it was SEC teams losing to SEC teams. Let's get a little bit later in the season. Let's see where these things stack up at the end. I'll bet you there's an SEC team in the Final Four.
Okay, TJ, cry me a river. Go ahead, let's go.
Well, first of all, Brett Bielema needs to keep his mouth shut. Let's just put that out there first and foremost.
You're talking about how much he's eating? He's not getting any smaller.
Hey, if he does more walking and less talking, he'll win more games and probably lose a little bit of weight. So, look, there's perpetually a changing of the guard in the SEC. As Seren alluded to, Vahe alluded to, there are enough teams in the SEC that are always good that somebody's going to be competing for a national championship pretty much every single season. You've had 5 teams win national championships since the beginning of the BCS era. And on top of that, there's always teams in the middle of the pack that are perennially in the top 25. So seeing Ole Miss up there is a bit of a change. That's new. They've never been to an SEC championship game. If they make it this year, it'll be the first time that's ever happened. That is big. That is different. And I think that Chad Kelly and that offense, they're for real. That defense has the most talent of any team in the country, and I think they'll continue to prove it as the season goes on.
All right, guys, I have about a minute and a half for this question. The Royals' magic number is 3. They will likely clinch the division this week, so that brings us to our final hot topic of the night. How would you use Greg Holland in the playoffs? Seren?
Look, not to be curt, but probably to get water for the rest of the guys. I mean, I think right now he's just not good enough to be out there. You use the rest of the regular season to try to get him back into shape to find a role, but I think come playoff time, he's the fat that gets trimmed.
Okay, TJ?
Same. I don't think that he's on this playoff roster. You can't deceive hitters if you only throw an 89-mile-an-hour fastball. Your slider loses its effectiveness if you can't throw a good fastball. He can't right now, which means that he's not a valuable pitcher right now.
Vahe?
Well, the real complication is you can't just say he's not the closer, because then where does he fit? I mean, he's going to, if you think of him as being an important pitcher, he's going to be in high leverage situations, and you can blow a game in the 7th or 8th inning. So I think that's really complicated, but I do think when you've got Wade Davis sitting right there, it's time for that change at least. The rest maybe we can figure out as we go.
We'll try to do that. Up next, we're going to get some final thoughts from the panel. It's their time to sound off on anything that's on their minds. You're watching Sunday Sound Off.